Alright, good buddy of mine hit me up. He called me the other day. He's like, where do you screw in the port for an aftermarket temperature gauge? And I asked him, like, what are you doing? And he said, well, his didn't come with a temperature gauge and he was just going to put an aftermarket in. I was like, no, absolutely not. Ain't no way. So he's at work. I just kind of borrowed his Jeep, but he should be happy. Don't ever waste your time on one of these. Let's do it the right way. So this is just like the base model Cherokee, nothing special, no crazy accessories. And this is what just makes me so mad. These are the gauges. So you don't have a clue about oil pressure, you don't know your voltage, you've got a huge fuel gauge for no reason. I don't even know what's there, and then that's your temperature gauge. Jeep actually has cold AC. Odds are if you're watching this, you know that Cherokees are known for running hot, but that's what he said. He's like, it could be running cool, it could be running hot. I don't know. So he's sitting in a red light. You just have to wonder. So I'm gonna show you step by step how to convert to the better gauges. So this is the one part I wanted to add. It's like, say you got a water department or your electric company or somebody and they just want the cheapest base package, whatever they can get. That's why I honestly think Jeep did this. I was like, I don't think they actually saved any money, but that way they can charge a cheaper price and get sales to these big companies and stuff. Well, look at there. I was looking for one of them. I was trying to find you a Jeep in the junkyard to show you something to kind of go with the story. But my Comanche is the one I noticed this on. You know, back in the day, if you wanted chrome wipers, you had to pay for it. But if you look, Jeep would actually paint over the chrome. They'd go ahead and make them chrome and they'd go ahead and paint over it. So the black would be your base package, and if you want a chrome, you'd pay for it. But it's funny, they was already going through the trouble of chroming them, but you was actually paying less money for more of a product. This is another prime example. See this Jeep? I don't even know what package this is, but look, see, they've already chromed these, and they just painted over on black, and then they charge you more for the chrome, even though they're doing more for less. So let me get a gauge cluster, and I'll show you what you need. All right, so this is all you need. Gauges, 2 sensors. I'll show you why. I was looking for a gauge cluster, and this is kind of funny. They have cut out the gauges we're running, and they have actually installed the coolant sensor I showed you in the start of the video. But I went and found one. Obviously, miles are going to change. But you can see now we'll have temperature, small fuel hand. I forgot about tach. Yeah, they don't even have a tach. So I've got a tach if you care, speedometer, got actual oil pressure, and then actual voltage. So the only sensors you're actually going to have to change is temperature and oil pressure. Voltage will be the same, common sense there should be. Speedometer, nothing changes there. It already knows the tach, so that's just not put on there just to save money, I guess you'd say. And then fuel hand, same thing, it just changes the size of it. So up until 96, Jeep used 2 sensors for temperature. This one on the front controls the computer. So that tells the motor how lean to run and all that stuff, and auxiliary fan, that's what that sensor does there. So this sensor has nothing to do with the gauge at all. But if you look back here, see that sensor right there? See how it's black? I've already got it unhooked. If your sensor is black on the top, I think that's actually white. I think it's just dirty. But if it's black, it is a temperature switch that triggers a light when it becomes a certain temperature. If your sensor is white on the top, pretty sure I said that right, but anyway, black is for a switch, white is for an actual gauge. You can buy this sensor in town. I'm sure it's probably like $15, $20. So that's that. Same principle here. There's no gauge, it's got to activate a light. I don't know this, I just unplugged his and see how short that one is. I'm pretty sure these are gauge style. See how they're longer right there? Some of them have 1 wire, some of them have 2 wires, so know which one you need there. Again, if you go to buy these parts new, they're going to ask you, do you need a temperature switch or do you need a temperature sensor gauge? I think some of the computers at the parts stores now say with light or with gauge. Realize the motor's hot, so I got to cool it off. That sensor back there is definitely tricky. especially with the aluminum valve covers, there's not a lot of room. Sometimes it's a half, sometimes it's 9/16. So I've got a socket I've actually ground down because I don't get real tight, but it gets so close to the valve cover you may have to like grind the socket down. But the old Renix models, they're gonna have, well actually they don't use the bolt, they just slide over there. So same principle. I don't know if the color changes on them, but same principle there. Probably smarter to do this when it's cool, but I've got my motor cooling off. So we'll work on changing this out. Pretty simple. All right, so 95 and 96 are the only ones with this steering column right here. So you shouldn't have to worry about, there's like this big black piece that goes around here. Pretty sure this has probably already been took off, but you have to loosen this thing for the tilt and then one screw under the bottom. This piece on 95 and 96 is a struggle, but it will come off. I've never broke one. And then even on 87 and 94, it's a struggle to get it out of there, but like I said, I've never broke one. But it could happen. But there's one screw under here, one screw under the cigarette lighter, and then two across the top right here. So there's only 4 screws holding this piece on. Now it's just in a pickle, but it does come out of there. Yeah, there should be a little piece down here. That's what I was gonna say. If yours is super nice and you don't want to risk breaking it, drop this piece right here. There's a bunch of Phillips heads. Then just take the 2 nuts that hold the steering column and just drop it down. I've never done it, but if you're scared, you may want to do it. Just some snaps across there. Like I said, you got to get pretty rowdy, but it does slip up there. Then, like right here, these screws are at an angle. You can get them, or one screw takes this switch panel off, and then there's a switch panel on the opposite side. So now we've got, well, you can see there's already 2 screws missing. This is why there's, well, let me just go ahead and show you. There's another screw there, and then right here, and then right there. So 6 screws in total, but that's what I was gonna say. That's why I don't like judging these old Jeeps off the miles, because people just go, usually up north, get some old rusty Jeeps out that have don't make it very many miles, and then they just swap the cluster, and then that's just what you assume the Jeep has, but it doesn't. Now I got all the screws out. This connector over here is kind of tricky. You have to squeeze in on the ends of it. You need like a flathead screwdriver or something. I've done enough of them, you can do them by hand. So that's that one. See how they squeeze on the end right there? And just kind of slide it out. Squeeze the blue block in there. Should be able to see it. Squeeze right there. There you go. Usually they've got junkyard writing on there. Pulled one out one time, been sold 4 different times. So a cluster is represented low miles in 4 different Jeeps. Well, 5 after I sold it. Let me get the other one. This is plug and play. Some of the older clusters have manual speedometers. I'm just not going to get on that video. I think those are mostly Renixes and they're probably dead by now. Kind of tricky. Now this one just sticks back off in there. Before I go any farther, I'm just going to crank it and make sure the tack and lights and stuff work. Got that. I actually think that's exactly how much fuel I had. So now I'm just going to put this thing back together. Shouldn't be nothing to it. And then we'll work on the sensors. Got that slide back together, so we should be good. You can see our oil pressure gauge is buried. Let's see if we can address that. There's one wire, what I need. They do make a special socket that these fit perfectly in. Kind of tight, but for the last 10 years, I've changed them with just channel locks or cheap pliers. Smaller the better, because they're in a tight spot, so you need wiggle room. All right, probably not a lot to see here. I'm gonna use my special tool, special socket. That was a little loose. This just, I can't tell you a torque spec, but I will say I'd rather put it in loose and it leak, and then you have to retighten it again than break it off in there. Somebody's changed this. Why, I don't know. You don't have a gauge. I don't know why you change it. Unless they, like I said, changed to those gauges and actually knew to do this. Who knows? Well, you can see the size difference I was speaking of earlier. I don't know that for a fact. I usually start it by hand. It's actually angled a little up or down, however you want to say it. Well, ironically, I'm going to have to use my pliers because this socket won't get on there because the dipstick's in the way. All right, got it tightened up. Plug it up. Let's see if we got some oil pressure numbers now. Sensor's used, so I don't know if it's good. Let's see if it changes. Oh, fell down, so that's good. Perfect. Motor's still, well, we don't know the temperature yet, but motor's still pretty warm, so that's probably right on point. Let's see if it goes up the ribs. Huh. So once again, it's a used sensor, but it is showing oil pressure now. We know a whole lot more than we did before. So now I gotta get that sensor out back there. It's not as easy, I will say that. So one thing I did do is I went and got a little ratchet, and the first socket I grabbed had like a stop down there. It wouldn't actually go far enough to let it get on the head of it right there. So just hope that one's a half. Some of them's different size, like I said, no pattern there. Like, yeah, the new one, just, it's a 9/16. Fits that one, don't fit that one. Junky light. Alright, let's see. Just have to get your hand down in there. That's in a tight spot. Let's try something. I've got a little bigger ratchet. You can use 3/8 stuff. I just had quarter laying there. There we go. This does go into the coolant jacket, so it's probably going to leak water. If it doesn't, you should probably check your coolant level. No coolant come out. Oh, it's right there. All right, so I got the black one out. Let's get another one. So if you can see, my camera's not the best, but I've just basically just whittled down on that with a grinder because not applying a lot of pressure, but the new one is a 9/16. Get it started by hand. You can use thread sealant. I've just never, if it leaks, you just get it tighter. It's brass. All right, so got it tight enough, and then if you can see down in there, you can see which way the sensor should plug in, but just like a USB, you got 50-50 chance at it. And I got it wrong. So now we're plugged up. Should be good to go. All right, I did cool his motor off, but let's see if we got temperature. Showing something, but again, like I said, the motor was cold to the touch, so let's take it on the road and see what we got. AC works, I'm gonna let this thing cool off, but check this out. This is all I used. Inside, Phillips head, that's it. Let's just cancel out that socket, you don't need it. I use a pair of channel locks, and then essentially could have used one ratchet. Just do it that way. So literally 5 tools, however you want to say it. It's all you need to do that. That's where I was getting at. He was wanting to do one of these. You got to run it, mount it. That's one piece, so you can't cut that. You have to mount this and then run that as one piece. Then you have to find somewhere to drill and tap and put another sensor in and blah, 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 and Y-link it and all that stuff. So let me let that thing cool off. We'll go down the road, see what it does. All right, I'm not going to video it since we already know how to do it, but I'm going to change this sensor. Watch RPMs come up real slow and see what it's doing right there. So I know that's not right, so I'm gonna change it real quick. All right, I pulled that sensor out right there. I'm gonna just lay it right there. Let's see what this one does. Show 0. Oh yeah, that's gotta be it. Yep, working perfect now. I don't know what that sensor deal with. It's not a switch. Junk. Alright, going down the road, temperature hand is right where it needs to be. Got the right amount of fuel that it had. RPM's working. Got an RPM gauge it didn't have before. Speedometer's right. Oil pressure's right on 50. And alternator's working. That's a video for another day. And like this video in particular was his idea. He just don't know that I stole his Jeep and I gotta take it back before he gets off work and swap it out with mine. But I do read all the comments and screenshot the good ideas, so if you got an idea for a video, you know what to do. Until next time, have a good day. Appreciate it. And I appreciate it. Till next time, I appreciate it and have a good day.